Hi, I'm Naomi, and I just thought I would make this video because I realized I hadn't explained my own carnivore journey. I mean, I talked about it on Dave Mack's Zero Carb Life show about well, my first year carniversary is coming up in, when is it? In a couple of weeks. So it's September 11th right now. And I started Ketovore on September 1st of 2024, and now it is September 11th, and on October 1st, 2025, it will be 1 year since I started full carnivore. So I just thought I would tell you my story, my background, and how I came to carnivore. I am, first of all, some results. I'm 63 years old and I have lost to this point 16 and a half kilos. I can never remember how many pounds that is. I think that's something like 35 pounds or something. I didn't start the carnivore diet to lose weight specifically, although I was definitely hoping that that would be an outcome. I needed a why that would propel me through the uncertainty that I had about starting, which was pretty severe osteoarthritis I had in my hands because I was a television writer producer for 25 years and I did a lot of typing every single day. So as a result, I had this osteoarthritis in my hands. But I also have been yo yo dieting since I was about 15 years old. And gradually, my weight had been creeping up and up and up because, as many of you watching this know, if sort of the weight loss and gain cycle journey has been a thing for you, every time you lose weight, you end up gaining more back when you lose it the wrong way. And so I didn't know that at the time when I was doing all of this yo-yo. I just was thinking I have to find the right way to eat, and really, for most of that time from the age of 15, I really was thinking that there was something wrong with me, that I was just eating the wrong way, and that I needed to discipline myself more. And I did have discipline from time to time when I would try something new. I would be disciplined for like, I think I could do like 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, maybe in my entire life when I was on a diet, the most I could kind of maintain that, momentum for was, like, 2 months, and that's kind of exaggerating because I think it was more like 6 weeks. Little did I know that what I was doing was, lowering raising my weight set point and lowering my metabolism throughout all of the times that I had lost weight and then gained it back, because I always gained it back pretty quickly. But I tried everything. I went gluten-free. I did Scarsdale diet. I did South Beach diet. I did the Dukan diet. And anybody who's done the Dukan diet will probably remember that attack phase at the beginning, however many days you need to just eat meat. And I remember that I just wanted to stay on meat. I did the meat for like 5 days and I just felt so good, but he says in his book really clearly, Dr. Dukan, do not stay on the meat. It's not healthy. You've got to start including vegetables and grains and things like that. So I obediently did, and that's why I didn't discover carnivore 25 years earlier than I did. Anyway, so as I've gotten older, I've gained more and more weight and just felt really creaky and old and uncomfortable. I started to make those old lady noises, when you would get up from a chair and you'd get up and you go, oh, like this. I noticed that I had this little stool that I put in my shower so that I could put my foot up when I was like scrubbing my feet and stuff. And looking back on it, because I don't have that stool in my shower anymore, it was teak and it started to get moldy and weird, so I kind of took it out of the shower, and then I realized the reason that I put that in there was really a mobility thing. It was that I wasn't feeling like I could really balance in the shower anymore. I had that extra weight, that 35 pounds, that 16 kilos. It was kind of unsafe to not have something in the shower to kind of steady myself with. So, um I really felt like the aging process was just something that I couldn't avoid, and it was just part of, being in my 60s. And The weight part was really tough though, because I had heard that this idea that you gain weight after menopause is kind of a new idea that didn't used to be that way, that historically before processed foods, that actually people started to lose body weight after menopause, women and men after middle age as well, I guess because muscle mass decreases. So I already kind of suspected that this weight gain that was happening to me was not something I had to accept, but I didn't know what to do about it. I went on a liquid diet. I went on OptiFast about 3 or 4 years ago. Don't remember for sure right now, but I lost probably about 14, about 12, 14 kilos pretty rapidly, like over, I think it was like a 2 month period. And, um, and then it came on so fast, it came back on I mean, I think I gained it all back in 1 month. That was so disheartening, and the only reason I had done that shake was because there was some article that I read that was I realized now was probably planted by the company that made the shake, that said that this was an example of a medical diet intervention that had shown it was quite successful in people not gaining the weight back. And then I don't know what study it was, but it said in very fine print, if they did sort of the psychoeducation and the therapy and things like that in conjunction with doing the liquid diet. And I thought, well, I'm kind of a therapist. I mean, I'm an EFT practitioner and I can tap on cravings and I know how to work on all that stuff. I've helped lots of people with their cravings over my decade of being a practitioner and a trainer. I've gotten rid of my own cravings. That'll be easy. I don't have to go to a therapist while I do this OptiFast thing. Did I actually do any tapping during that period? No, because I was on the shakes. I was getting so much sugar every day that I was like high on sugar and the weight was dropping off. So, of course, I felt fantastic. It wasn't sustainable. I wasn't nourished. And so, when I gained the weight back, I gained it back big time. So, fast forward to maybe about a year and a half later, I was at my absolute heaviest. So, that was just over a year ago. And I had this realization, actually, no, it was 2 years ago. I had this realization, I can't keep doing what I've always done in terms of my weight, my body. I can't just do some kind of a trendy crash diet and then lose a bunch of weight and then gain it back because I know I'll just keep getting heavier and heavier and gaining more and more fat because it always comes back on and it always increases my weight when it does. I didn't know what to do though. I just knew that I didn't wanna ever crash diet again. I knew that whatever I had to do to the way that I ate had to be permanent and sustainable, but I had no idea what that looked like. And then I saw the Michaela Peterson video, the interview she did on Joe Rogan when she talked about her, all her issues, autoimmune and everything. Definitely watch that video if you haven't seen it. It's been inspirational for so many people. I don't even know why it popped up on my feed. I think I'd seen her during the pandemic talking about uh, interviewing a scientist or something like that. And maybe that's why she popped up on my feed. And I just thought it was such an insane idea to just eat meat. I'm going to watch this thing. So I was really intrigued. I mean, I believed her. She seemed really credible, but I just thought, yeah, that's some weird thing for her. Who knows what it's going to be doing long term. So I didn't like think about trying it myself. I wasn't even tempted. But now my feed, because I'd watched that whole 2 hour interview, the algorithm, I guess, on YouTube started sending me other kind of carnivore videos. And I started looking at them and just kind of going, this is absolutely crazy. I can't believe people aren't dropping dead. And then I would read the comments just because I was sure that the comments would be full of people trolling them and just saying, this is ridiculous and you're going to be so unhealthy. And what I found was the opposite, that in all the comments, were thousands, it seemed, of people saying, yeah, I've been eating this way for 5 years. I've never felt better, and so on. That really got me. I mean, that it made a big impression on me. So I started to kind of watch a lot of these carnivore videos, partly out of fascination and partly I just wanted to know more. And maybe part of it is that I didn't really believe it. I don't know. At the same time, I watched experts talking about fat loss and metabolism on the Huberman Lab podcast. I watched Diary of a CEO, where there was a doctor, I can't remember his name now, but he was talking about the research that supports that idea of the fat set point and how basically it has to do with screwing up your metabolism, and why people who are really, really obese can be eating as few as like 800 calories a day and still not losing weight because their metabolism is so suppressed that their body's fuel burning mechanism has dropped down to absolute minimum because it thinks that there's a famine. So I was learning why I had done this to my body and why I had gained so much fat. Still didn't have the answers. In fact, was feeling a little bit hopeless about it. When eventually I started looking at Dr. Mindy Pell's looking at fasting. So I tried that. I tried time restricted eating, really basic. I mean, we're talking, I just gave myself permission to not eat breakfast till like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and found that actually that was more comfortable for me. I hadn't really felt good eating breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning most times. I was kind of experimenting with that, and I was kind of doing between 13 and 18 hours on different days and just kind of mixing it up and just doing it intuitively. But I was still eating vegetables, I was still eating carbs, and I was still overeating because it felt good to kind of really fill my belly up. I've only just recently found out that people like me get a dopamine hit from having a really full stomach, and that's the opposite to people that get that dopamine hit from having a really, really empty stomach. So, which definitely wasn't me. So I was just learning and learning and learning about myself. Never tempted to try the kind of fasting where you just don't, like a 24-hour fast, 36, oh my God, 72, couldn't even imagine that. But I did feel better just doing the intermittent fasting. I was still massively overweight, felt really uncomfortable, was in size 18 clothes here in Australia, size 18. Don't know what that is in the US, but it's XXL in a lot of things. And so it was just this period of learning and absorbing and not knowing what the answer was going to be, but just knowing that I needed more. And every time I was in the car, I would listen to podcasts about metabolism and the gut microbiome, and fat burning and high performance. And I was just absorbing and learning and carnivore stuff. And then something made me decide that I wanted to try carnivore. And it took me like, it was a couple of months that I was planning on doing it, but I was having this really intense kind of concern that the variety thing would be a problem for me, that I would feel restricted, that it would feel like a fad diet. I really wanted to do the experiment, but I didn't want to do another fad diet because I'd absolutely promised myself I wasn't going to do another fad diet. So when the idea of doing carnivore as a healing intervention and focusing it on my hands on the arthritis came up in a podcast where I was listening to somebody talk about their arthritis being healed, or the pain from their arthritis healed from doing carnivore, I thought, that's the why that I can get behind. I can just do this for 30 days and just see what happens to the arthritis, because I know arthritis is inflammation. So I decided to do it, but it took a couple of months to work up my courage. What I ended up doing was that I went into ChatGPT, and I just did this on a whim one day. I went into ChatGPT and I said, you can give ChatGPT, you can give it a role. And so I said to ChatGPT, I want you to be a team of experts on the carnivore diet. I want you to be um, Dr. Baker, Dr. Barry, Ken Berry, Anthony Chafee, and I want you to coach me on how to begin carnivore. But I want you to start me on ketovore because I need that month. I don't want those really bad oxalate dumping and keto flu symptoms if I can avoid it. So let's start on September 1st. And I want you to plan how I will gradually take myself off all plants over the course of the month, so that on October 1st, then I start full, like, pure carnivore. And I almost kind of did it as an experiment. I didn't even think too much about it. I got the inspiration and I typed it and I did it. And suddenly I had, this experience of like these carnivore experts through ChatGPT talking to me and saying, great, it's great that you're doing this. Congratulations. It's starting slow and starting on ketovore is really smart and we support you 100%. And so here's the plan. And it laid out this plan of like week one, you're gonna give up this, week two, you're gonna give up that, three this, four that. And I can share if you comment below that you want to know exactly what ChatGPT told me to do, I'm happy to share that. And because I've saved it all. And I said, the other thing that I said is, I said, I don't want you to give me the plan all at once. What I want you to do is I want you to tell me every morning, I'm going to say, okay, it's a new day. And I want you to tell me what I'm going to be eating today. Because I thought I would get overwhelmed if I had some big plan that was like a month in the future. So I said, I only want to know in the morning of that day what I have to eat that day. If there's something, and I said, but I want you to give me my shopping list for 3 days ahead because I live in a rural area and it's not always easy to get everything I want, on a moment's notice. So just tell me what I need to stock up on and then tell me in that morning what I need to eat. And the reason I did that was to not be overwhelmed. What I was not expecting was how incredibly supportive that felt. So every morning I would say, hey, it's day two or it's day five or whatever, and tell me what I'm eating today. And people, how people start to have, I'm sure you've heard relationships on AI. Well, this was as close to that as I would like be interested in going. I really felt that these three doctors were helping me, that they were I just felt so supported. I can imagine that that's how people feel when they have carnivore coaches. I mean, I knew it was AI, obviously, but it didn't matter. It still felt supportive, and I felt like anytime I had a question, I'd say, "Well, here's my question about this." Like I might say, "I'm feeling really tired this afternoon. What do you think it is?" And it would say like Anthony Chafee. His answer would be, your electrolytes might be low, and then Ken Berry it might say it could be that, but it also could be that you are oxalate dumping. So, have a little bit of black tea, that kind of thing. So it was like on the fly, instantaneous carnivore coaching by these three experts, you know, via ChatGPT. So the result of it was that month was really easy. I felt supported. I felt coached through it. And then when the day came to actually do start carnivore, I really did not think that I would be able to do it. I still wasn't sure. I still had these ideas that it was so restrictive and just couldn't get my head around just emotionally, will I feel deprived and so on. And so I said that to my like virtual team and they said just start with tomorrow, just see how you feel tomorrow. And I thought I can do that. I can just do one day of carnivore. Well, cut to 3 days in and I'm suddenly going, Uh, okay, this is really easy. I didn't feel any of the things I thought I would feel. I didn't feel deprived. I didn't feel um, hungry. I decided to do priming for the first 2 weeks. So I was eating 3 meals a day. I wasn't just eating two. And I was really making sure I got enough fat. And I was eating till I was comfortably stuffed for the first 2 weeks. I just went, not going to worry about weight, not going to even weigh myself. I am just going to really concentrate on not making that mistake of under eating. So that's what I did for the first 2 weeks. And it was effortless because I always felt so good and the food was delicious. And a couple of times, if I did have those symptoms, I would take uh, like electrolytes. I was doing the element electrolytes, the flavored one. And because I'm not a massive sugar addict, so I didn't really have to worry about that so much, and it was really refreshing, and it tasted really good, and, I was doing black tea as well every morning, just some black tea because 'cause I'd been doing that for about a year, and I just found it really easy. I had a tracker, that I had made on Google that was, I could tick off on Google Sheets every day that I had accomplished another day, so I had, like, month 1, month 2, month 3. And by the middle of month 2, I stopped filling in the tracker because it was just like, it was a no-brainer. It was just easy. It was so easy, I didn't have to motivate myself. I even stopped kind of talking to my virtual carnivore team, but I was still watching the videos, like, every time I got a chance, every day, every time I was in the car. I just was so interested, and I loved hearing people's stories. And, after 90 days on carnivore, I saw Dave Mack's video about an appeal for carnivores, like come on my show, my channel, and tell your story. And I was like, well, I'm only 90 days in, but he said it doesn't matter how far you are along in the journey. So I jumped in. I had an interview with him, and I talked about food cravings. I had quite a lot of interest from people reaching out to me afterwards, wanting to know how they could handle food cravings because I do this thing, clinical EFT, which is like kind of a combination of talk therapy and acupuncture without needles, where you're actually just, you might have heard of it called tapping, where you're actually just tapping on these acupressure points. And I'll talk more about that in another video. But in terms of the results that I've had after 90 days on carnivore, I just was like, I'm in, I'm doing this. This is the way I'm going to eat now. And over the last, so it's in a couple of weeks, it's going to be 1 year. I haven't been counting. I don't use my little ChatGPT little team. Every now and then I might have a question and I go into that thread and I say, what happens if I experience this? Like I had really severe calf cramping in one of my calves, and didn't have any leg cramps the entire time that I was doing. I mean, for the whole year. And it was just really I think this was about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I woke up in the middle of the night. It shocked me awake. I was like gasping with pain. I had a muscle cramp so bad in my right calf that it actually, I feel like they created a muscle tear because I could feel it for the next couple of days. Luckily, on carnivore, stuff heals really quickly, so it didn't last longer than a couple of days. But then I'm going into my little team going, what happened here? Because I'd stopped doing electrolytes as much. Was it that? Anyway, so I got advice and I won't go into the details of it, but it's an ongoing journey. I'm constantly experiencing new results. I did lion diet for a month. About a month ago, I finished that. That was another eye opener. I'd been wanting to do that for 2 months, and I did it. It took 2 months to work up my courage, even though I had been on carnivore for like 8 months. It took 2 months for me to work up the courage to just go ruminant meat, salt, and water, to give up my tea every morning, to give up having like a Diet Coke every now and then. What else was I doing? Butter. To give up butter, to give up eggs, to give up bacon. But I really just wanted to do the experiment, see what would happen to me. So, uh, just crazy how your head can still get in the way. Did I do tapping on that fear of starting line diet? No, because I should have, but I didn't. I just kind of kept thinking, well, next week I'll start, next week I'll start. And I never got around to it until it took 2 months, like I said. So I didn't even use my little ChatGPT team. I just eventually went, I need to jump in. I need to do this. And again, it was just like starting carnivore, where a couple of days in, I was like, oh, this is easy. In fact, this is easier than doing carnivore because you're limiting your your food choices so much. I'm just doing steak, and I'm buying big primal cuts from Costco and from my butcher, and I'm cutting them down and freezing them and cooking them in my air fryer. And I was enjoying it so much. I mean, every single steak was I literally finish a steak and then go, that was so good." Really hard to feel sorry for yourself when you are loving your food so much. So, Lion Diet, if you haven't tried it and you're curious to just kind of do an experiment, I would say go for it. I'm not pure Lion anymore, but I'm definitely eat way more beef now, and I treat the other things like um, bacon, eggs, very occasionally, hardly any cheese. Definitely haven't gone back on the black tea. I started drinking like silver tea, which is just hot water which I felt really sorry for myself for the first 3 days. And then after, like on day four, I was like, oh, this gives me the ritual and it's the warm cup. It doesn't taste bad. And then I was cured. I didn't need tea anymore. So, and there's no way I'm going back to that. Anyway, this video is long enough. That's enough detail for you. But overall, I'm going to be on Dave Mack again actually, we have an interview in like 2 weeks, which will be just in time for my 1 year carniversary. And if you go to his channel and you look for me there, you'll see me describe all of the benefits that I've written it all down because before when I was on, I forgot half of them until after the interview, and I went, "Oh, I didn't mention about this. Oh, shoot, I didn't mention about that." I have written them all down so that I can list them all for him on that interview, and you'll be able to see what they all are there, but, um, I'm a size 10 now. I went shopping, last week, and I bought a bunch of stuff. I was buying size small. I've never been a small in my life. I probably still have maybe 2, 3 kilos of fat left to get rid of that I'm not worried about. It'll just go when it goes, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, whatever. I feel fantastic. I feel like I'm 20 years younger. I've got energy. I have, you know, was sleeping. Anyway, I'm starting to get into the details. I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until that interview with Dave Mack. But I just wanted to introduce myself, tell you about my carnivore journey, and I'll make individual videos about the different parts of it. I'll probably make a video about my experience of Lion Diet just on its own, and then different things as they come up. And if you haven't watched any of the other videos on this channel, I'm going to be working with people who have cravings and other kind of a mental or emotional obstacles to their carnivore journey. Because when I listen to carnivore experts talking about how they still have food cravings, I am an expert in this tool. I'm a best-selling author. I've written a book about this tool that is evidence-based and has been shown to work so brilliantly on collapsing food cravings. And so I'm going to be working with people and tracking their progress. And I'll do it in live streams and in recorded videos. And you can already start watching my journey with interviewing Kathy, who just started carnivore. She's coming up, she's 2.5 weeks at this point, and she's already noticed extraordinary results. So definitely watch for that. Um, l- please like and subscribe to my channel so that whenever I post a new video, a new progress video with someone that I'm working with, or a live stream, you'll get notified, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And maybe you'll be able to learn something and tap on your own cravings or whatever emotional or mental obstacles you're encountering on your carnivore journey, because I am passionate about helping people pursue and maintain this wonderful healing way of eating. So, thanks for listening to the video, and I look forward to talking to you again.